Hello guys, welcome to PyPower Projects. Today we'll present a tutorial for NumPy. So let's start. First you have to install NumPy. So for that you have to write pip install NumPy in your Anaconda prompt or command prompt. So after installing we have to use it so we can import it. So we have to write import NumPy as MP. Now starting with topic 1, NumPy array. How to create a 1D array. So for that we have to write mp.array and we have to pass a single list in it. This will create a NumPy array and this is d type. D type equal to, and d type stands for data type. So 1 2 3 4 is of data type int. So array 1D array is created and I have printed it. So you can see 1 2 3 4 is an array. For float type you have to write d type equal to float, then it will create an array of float data types. Now how to make 2D array. For 2D array you have to pass a list. So this is outer list and in that I have passed two lists, 1 2 3 4 and second is 5 6 7 8. So this is array of 2 row and 4 columns. For 3D array same, you have to pass more than one 2D arrays in a list. So it will create 3D array. So you can see this is 3D array with 2 frames, 2 rows and 3 columns. So you can see here. Now basics of NumPy. We declare a single 1D array of data type equal to int 1 2 3. With you can also initialize your array with float values, as you can see here 1.23, 23.45 and so on. If any one value is of float type, then int will be typecasted to float value. So you can see 5 is now a float value. As you all know that complex is also data type in Python. So you can initialize your array with complex numbers. So 1 plus 5j, 2j, 3, this are all complex number. By default it is of float. Every imaginary and real number are of float type. Now shape, size, dimension. So this is a 2D array of 2 row and 4 column. A.shape. Shape will return its construction, that is how many row and column. So here it is returning 2, 4. That means the array A has 2 rows and 4 columns. A.size. What this size will return? Size will return total number of elements. So array A has total 8 elements. So 8 is written. Ndim. Ndim stands for n dimension. So what is the dimension of this array? So a.ndim will return dimension of the array. So array A is of 2 dimensions. So answer is 2. Item size means size of single element in bytes. So here my each element is of 8 bytes. This is d type. D type is int 64. That means int data type with each character of 64 bits, that is 8 bytes. What is a.n byte? N bytes will return total size of array. So total size of array is total number of elements into its size. So our 8 elements are there and each size is 8. So answer is 64. Length attribute. Length will return how much is the length of particular row or a column. So length of a of 0. So first row contains 4 elements. So answer of length of a0 is 4. And type. So all array in NumPy are of ND array. So type of A is NumPy.ND array. Now accessing array elements. How to access the elements? Here I have declared an array of 14 elements, 2 rows and 7 columns. You can access your element by comma separated values or by traditional method as you use in C or Java, that is square bracket for row, column and frames. So you can use R comma C or R and C in separate square brackets. So 1 5, that means second row and 6th column, it is 13, it is printed, and 0 2, that is first row and 3rd column, so 3 is printed. If you write 0 and colon, that means first row and all columns. So you are specifying the row number, and second is blank, so it will take entire row. So entire row is printed. If you take only column and a colon in row argument, then it will print entire column. So fourth column, that is fourth index column, that is fifth column is printed. So you can see fifth column is 5 and 12, so it is printed here. You can change here also. So how to change? A of 0 3 equal to 20, that means first row and fourth column is now 20. You can see it is reflected. So now for this element is changed to 20. You can change entire column. So this is first index column, that is second column. So now second column is now changed to 100 and 200. So second column is now changed to 100 and 200. You can see here in array also. Now 3D array. This is a 3D array of 2 frames. You can see here 2 frames, 2 rows and 2 columns. You can specify each element of 3D array by this method. First argument is of frame, second is row and column. So first frame, the second frame, this is second frame, second row and second element, that is 8. So 8 is get printed. You can also assign here. So this is array. Before assigning 1 to 8 elements are present. Now I am assigning it first frame, all rows and all columns as a 2D array 1 1 1 1. So after assignment my array is get changed and it is changed to 1 1 1 1 as first frame and 5 6 7 8 as second frame. So you can assign like this. Now let's look over some mathematical operations. Basic mathematical operations are here. A equal to numpy array. This is 5 valued array 1 2 3 4 5. Addition. A plus 1 will add 1 to each element. A minus 1 will subtract 1 from each element. A into 3. This is dot product. This will multiply 3 with each and every element. For cross product you have to use np.cross. So np.cross and you have to pass 2 arrays as an argument. So np.cross x and y will print this cross product as an output. Division. This is array 1 2 3 4 5. After a divided by 2 you can see 0.5 1 1.5. So you can directly do division of each element. Now you have to add 2 arrays. So my first array is 1 2 3 4 5 and second is all ones. So my output will be now adding 1 element to each. So you can add any 2 array like this. Power operator. This will return an array of squaring each the element. So each element is now get squared. So 1 4 9 16 and 25 is an array which return using power operator. np.sqrt will square root of each element. So 1 1.41 1.73 and so on. So these are the basic mathematical operations you can use on your array directly. So no need to write a separate for loop code for doing each element. Just add like your variables and it will work on array also. Now min, max and sum. So a dot min will print the minimum element, a dot max will print the maximum element, and a dot sum will return the sum of all the elements. So here as shown, 1 is the minimum element, 5 is the maximum element, and 15 is the sum of all the elements. 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 is 15. So sum is printed. Now this is one of the most important topic or point in NumPy arrays, axis. When it is specified x is equal to 0, then you have to consider the column, and when it is specified x is equal to 1, then you have to consider the row. We'll see one example to get it clear. So I have declared here 2D array with 10 elements. First I will print this array 1 2 3 4 5. Now I will sum with x is 0. So what it will return? So column wise sum, it will return array of column wise sum. So column wise sum 1 plus 6, you can see vertically here 1 plus 6, 2 plus 7, 3 plus 8, you can see here 4 plus 9, 5 plus 10. So it will return an array with 5 sum, that is 7, 9, 11, 13, 15. Now x is equal to 1, that is row wise sum. So here 2 rows are there. So 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4, this is first value 15, and second is 6 plus 7 plus 8 plus 9 plus 10. So it is 40. So x is equal to 1 and sum, it will return array of two values having sum of both the rows, and a dot sum, it will return sum of all the elements. Neither it will not return array, it will return a variable, so it is 55. Now sorting, this is very much interesting and very easy in NumPy array. So sorting, this is my array. Now I am sorting column wise. So x is equal to 0 will sort column wise. So when I will see column wise in column format, I will get my array sorted. So 151 sorted, 2172 sorted, and so on. But my row wise is not sorted. For that I have to use a dot sort, that will sort my array row wise and column wise both. Now second, a dot sort, here x is equal to 1, so it will sort my array in row wise format. So you can see 1, 7, 13, 21 and 88, it is sorted, but it is not sure that always this is also sorted. Okay, so when I will use x is equal to 1, then it will sort row wise. A dot sort will return array, it will not return an array. So a dot sort is a function, it cannot return an array, it just sort your array. When you print your array, the sorted array will be displayed. So remember, a dot sort does not return any array. So a dot sort will return with row as well as column. So you can see here it is sorted in row format as well as in column format. Now it is very easy to do merge sort. You might have learned that algorithm of merge sort using recursion or not using recursion, heap sort, but it is very much easy in NumPy to merge sort. You have to write kind equal to merge sort. This is a simplest way. So a dot sort kind equal to merge sort, and it will sort using algorithm merge sort. You can check using that time and wait function. So you can see our difference between merge sort, heap sort according to time, but in output we cannot see a difference because all will sort a array in same format. So just because this is very important concept, so I have displayed in my tutorial. So for heap sort, you have to just write kind equal to heap sort, and it will sort your array in heap sort format. Now moving to next part, statistics. Very easy to use statistics in NumPy. np.mean, and you have to pass array. So 2.5 is the mean of array. Median is 2.5 because data is very small and continuous, so mean and median are same. Standard deviation np.std, it will return standard deviation, there is 1.1180. For log, np.log, np.log will take log of each element with base e, there is natural log, and to take log with base 10 you have to write np.log10. This will take log of each element with base 10. You can see log of 2 is 0.3010 and so on. Next is shape and reshape. So shape and reshape are very much important components while learning machine learning, image processing and other important concepts of computer science. So what this will do, this is my array with two rows and 4 column. So a dot shape 2, 4, that is row, column 2, 4, 2 row 4 column. Now I will reshape my array and it will return an array. I have stored it in B. So B equal to a dot reshape 4, 2. Now 4, 2 means my array will get reshaped into 4 row and 2 column. As you show output, it is 4 row 1, 2, 3, 4 and output is and column is 2. So you can reshape your array like this. Now shape of A is 2, 4, but shape of B is 4, 2. Now you can reshape your array in 8, 1. So as my elements are 8, so combinations of 8 are multiples of 8. You can 2, 4, 4, 2, 8, 1, 1, 8. So 8, 1, that is 8 row and 1 column. So as printed here, these are 8 different row of 2D array and single column. Now 1, 8, there is 1 row and 8 columns. So this is 1 row, single row, and 8 columns are there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. So this is my A. This A is not changing, only it returns a new array and I'm storing it B. So A is not changing here, it is same as declared previously. Now what will this flatten function will do? Flatten will convert your array in 1D array. Whether it is 2D array or 3D array or 4D array, a.flatten will return an array with all elements in a single row or 1D array. So by default it is row measure. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and after that 5, 6, 7, 8. If you want to do in Fortran, that is F represents Fortran. Fortran uses column measure method. So if you have to do it column measure, then you have to pass argument as F. By default it is C, that is C type. C uses row measure and Fortran uses column measure. So b equal to a.flatten an argument as F. It will return an array in column measure, the 1, 5, 2, 6, 3, 7, 4, 8 and so on. Indexing and slicing. B equal to a of 1 colon 5. 1 colon 5 indicates starting with 1 till 5 and 5 is not included. So all the elements of A with index 1, 2, 3 and 4 are written and stored in B. Note that B does not create a new array object. It is just a different representation or a partial representation of A. So any change in B will reflect to A. So just be careful while copying this. So 1 colon 5 will return an array of elements 1 of index 1, 2, 3 and 4. So you can see here 2, 4, 2, 3, 4 and 5 are printed. Now what this second column indicates? Second column indicates as written here start, end and interval step size. So it will take elements with 2 intervals, that is it will start from 0 and blank indicates all till end, and next argument is 2, that is you have to skip 2 elements, you have to jump 2 elements. So 1, then jump for 2, 1 and 2, this is 1, then jump for 2, 1 and 2, that is 3, so jump for 2, 1 and 2, so 5, jump for 2, 6 and 7, so 7, jump for 2, 9 and array index out of 1, that is completed array. So it is starting from start index till end minus 1 and this interval or step size. So it will skip that number of elements in your array. So you can see here starting from 0 till end it will return 1, 3, 5, 7 and 9. Similarly here it will return starting from 3 and till 8 not 9, and 3 step size it will return 4 and 7. Slicing operation. So you can initialize the array with slicing. So this is my array. Yes, as I have said, slicing only returns a partial representation of array in B but does not create a new copy for it. So change in B, that is B of 1 equal to 100 will reflect in A also. As you have seen, both are changed, but to avoid this you can use dot copy method. So dot copy will return a copy of B. So changing in B will not affect A. So B of 1 I have changed to 50. When I will print B, it is second element is 50, but second element of A does not get changed and it is 100 as previously. 7. Initializing array different method. There are a number of methods to initialize array. np.arange, this will create an array at a given interval. That means start from 1 till 6, 7 not included, and you can also pass here step size. So when I will run this, so it will start from 1 and will be 6 and step size equal to 2, that is skip 2 elements. You can write here 3 also, it will change accordingly. So 1, then skip 3, 4, then skip 3, 7, but 7 is not included, so 1 and 4 is the output. This will start from 3 and till 30 not 31 and step size equal to 3. Yes, you can see here this is table of 3, so it is very easy to make table of any number. So 3, 6, 9 up to 30, this is table of 3. np.zeros will create a matrix with all element as 0. By default it is float, so 0 point and specific dimension 2, 3, 2 row and 3 column. np.ones will return all element with initialize with 1 and I have passed d type equal to n. By default it is float, so 3 frames 2 row and 2 columns. So this is a 3D array with 3 frames, 2 row and 2 column. So all elements are 1. np.full, this will create an array of same number of specified dimension. So 2 column, 3 row with number 65. So you can write any, yes, there is 65. You can write float 6.67. So accordingly it will change. So all elements will be 6.67 and dimension will be 2, 3. Now you can write full like a, 4. That will replace all the elements of array with 4. This 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is now 4 up to 4. The 6 elements are replaced with 4. With random library, so np.random.rand. Random.rand will generate any random number between 0 and 1, and you have to pass dimensions 4, 2, that is 4 row and 2 column. So here floating values between 0 and 1 are generated in array of 4 row and 2 column. Integer values, so random.randint 1, 11, that is between 1 and 10, 11 not included, and size equal to 3, 3. So a square matrix of 3 row and 3 column with elements ranging between 1 and 10 is created. Identity matrix is a matrix with all diagonal elements equal to 1 and rest entries are 0. Line space, this is very important concept, line spacing. So line space will return an array with equal interval. So you have to pass starting index, ending index, and how many elements you have to take. So it will create an array of equal intervals and return it. So I have to take 11 elements between 0 and 5 included. So np.line space will, linear space, aligns with linear space. So it will create array of 11 elements, each with equal index. Now if I will change this and change to 7, that all elements will start from 0 and end till 5, that is nearly equal to 5, but now elements will be 7. So run it. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. 7 elements are there. Now let's see some miscellaneous examples of NumPy. Ever thought of combining NumPy and Matplotlib? Let's see. So I have first imported Matplotlib and NumPy, and np.arrange. np.arrange will create array starting from 0 and ending till 4 into pi, that is np.pi, 4 pi with interval 0.1. This is our x value and y equal to np.sign. This will create or generate sign values of every element of x and return an array and store it in y. Now we'll plot x and y. So plt.plot x, y, g dash is green and line width equal to 3. So plt.show. This will show a sine graph. Yes, this is sine graph starting with 0 and ending till 4 pi. So this is the interval of 2 pi and this is the interval of second 2 pi. So 4 pi, 0 to 4 pi sine graph is constructed. This is same but 10 graph. So y will have 10 values of each element of x, and when we'll plot with red color and dash, the graph of 10 will be shown. So this is graph starting from 0 and till 2 pi. Hello guys, welcome to PyPower Tutorials. Today we'll learn a wonderful library of Python, that is SciPy. So now what is SciPy? SciPy is same as scientific Python. All scientific calculations, mathematical functions, all are included in this particular Python library known as SciPy. So these 8 topics we'll cover in this tutorial. Let's start with first, that is polynomial. For that you have to import from numpy import poly 1D polynomial. So how can you create a polynomial? For that you have to pass a list in 1D polynomial as an argument. It will create a polynomial of it. Here I have passed 3, 6 and 8, so it will generate a 1D polynomial of 2 degree, that is 3x square plus 6x plus 8 as shown here. Now you can multiply this polynomial, so p into p, that is p square, so 3x square plus 4x plus 5 whole square, that will give this following 9x power 4 plus 36x cube and so on. Now if you want to calculate root of a particular polynomial, for that p dot r, that will generate an array of root. Here my equation has complex root, so x plus iy form of root are presented here. Now when I write only p, it will give me the coefficients of my polynomial. Now if I want to change the variable of my polynomial, if my equation is of the form 3x square plus 6x plus 8 and I want equation y square, I mean in a form of y, so what I have to do? So for that I have to pass this variable argument keyword as a y. So now my polynomial will be 1y square plus 2y plus 3. So by passing this variable equal to y, will generate a polynomial of that particular variable. These are some special functions of polynomial, that are integration and differentiation. So p dot intg means integration, so this will integrate our polynomial. My polynomial is currently 3x square plus 6x plus 8. When I will integrate it, it will become x cube plus 3x square plus 8x plus some constant c. That indefinite integration has some constant c. We have to pass here that argument, that what we have to take that constant, indefinite integration constant. So I have passed k equal to 6, that means my constant is 6. I can also do differentiation of my polynomial. So p dot derive, that will differentiate my polynomial. My polynomial is 3x square plus 6x plus 8. When I will differentiate it, it will 6x plus 6. So here it is the result. So this is a basic of SciPy, that is polynomial part. Now let's move to second part of the tutorial, is special function. So SciPy library has a module called special. So to use that functions of special module, you have to import it. So you have to write import SciPy dot special. This is an array of 10 elements starting from 1 to 10. So for cube root, you can use this particular function scipy.special.cbrt, and you have to pass array or a particular number in argument. It will return cube root of a particular number. So here cube root of 1 is 1, cube root of 2 is 1.25 and so on. Cube root of 8 is 2. So here cube root of every element of array is generated. Now this is exponent. So exponent of 10, exp10, that will, x is 3, so 10 power 3, so 10 power 3 is 1000. exp2, that is exponent of 2, so this particular function will return 2 power x, output of 2 power x as an result. So I have passed argument as 3, so 2 power 3 is 8, so it will return 8 as a result. Now this particular function is radian. So scipy.special.radian will convert your degree into a radian. So it will take 3 arguments, that is degree, minutes and second. As you know that every 60 second is 1 minute and every 60 minute is 1 degree. So our particular degree is specified in a degree, minute and second format. So it will take 3 arguments, degree, minute and second. So scipy.special.radian, that will take 3 arguments and return a radian conversion of it. Also, in this particular special module of SciPy, you can perform trigonometric operations. So multiple trigonometric operations you can perform here, but these all are in degree. So you can use sin dg. Sin dg function will take argument in a degree format and return its sign value. So sin 30, as you all know, is 0.5. So here output is 4.99, which is nearly equal to 0.5. Now cos 30 is root 3 by 2. So corresponding value is shown here. And tan 30 is 1 by root 3. So a float value representing 1 by root 3 is presented here. So you can use these trigonometric functions in a degree format to calculate the trigonometric functions in this from this special library of SciPy. Now you can perform permutations and combinations using this. So scipy.special.perm, it will take two argument, that is 5p2. So what is, let's say example 5p2 that is np2, that is n factorial upon n minus r factorial. So 5p2 is equal to 20. So I have to pass 5 and 2 as an argument, and it will return 5p2, that is 20 as a result. Now combination. So NCR is equal to n factorial upon n minus r factorial into r factorial. So what is 5c2? 5c2 is 10. So when I will use scipy.special.combination, it will return 5c2, that is 10 as a result. Now third part of our tutorial is integration. So for that you have to import scipy.integrate. So let's look at the integration module of SciPy, but before that let's have a look at lambda function. What is lambda function in brief? Let's understand it. Let's say I have a function f of x which will return a square of it. So when I will call that function f of 3, it will return 9. Same thing I can do without making a function using lambda. So I can write lambda x such that x square. So my f is now same as x square. I repeat, now my f is same as x square. So my f will take one argument x and it will return x square of it. You can make your lambda function with more than one variable. For that you have to just make function accordingly. So here my g is a function of x and y. My g is a function of x and y, which is equal to xy. So g of 2, 3 will return 6. Now let's move towards integration function. So this chord means a simple integration. It will take 3 arguments, that is first is function, second is lower argument, that is lower limit, and second is upper limit as shown here. So scipy.integrate.chord, it will take 3 arguments. Now my function is x cube. So my function is x cube, lower limit is 1 and upper limit is 2, and I will integrate it, then result will be printed here as a 3.75. Now this is my second function. Same single integration is there, but my function is now different. My function is e power minus x cube. So I will take function as e power minus x cube, lower limit as 1 and upper limit as 4, and my output will be 0.85. So this is a basic introduction, that is a function of integrate function, that is chord, that will perform a single integration for you. Now double integration, that is DBL chord. So what this DBL chord will do, it will perform double integration for you. Double integration is basically used for area under curve, for calculating area under curve purposes, and many other applications for double integration are there. So what this DBL chord will take as an argument, first it will take a function, second is lower limit, third is upper limit, and fourth and fifth argument are function of outer integration. As you all are familiar with double integration, so I am not taking a deep look into it. So I have passed argument here, that is lambda x and y such that xy lower limit is 0.5, and these are my other two functions, and now I will calculate area, it is 0.10. so DBL code is it will calculate double integration for you. I hope you understood the first three parts of our tutorial. Now let's have a look at fourth part, that is linear algebra. That is one of the most powerful and important portion of SciPy, as you can perform a numerous operations of matrices in this particular module of SciPy. So for that you have to import scipy.linear algebra, LINALG. I have created array A1, that is 2D array of 1, 2, 3, 4. First I will calculate the determinant of a matrix. For that I have to use .det, dot determinant function. It will take array as an argument. So my array is 1, 2, 3, 4. When I will calculate determinant of this, you can see here that 4 minus 6, that is minus 2. So determinant of my matrix is minus 2. It generates result. Now this is a special operation in this module, that is LU decomposition. So what is LU decomposition? Whenever I perform .lu in my particular array, it will generate three matrices, it will return three matrices, and I have to store it in a three variable. My array is, you can see here, 9 element 2D array, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7, 8. 7, 8, 8. It is my array. Now linear algebra dot lu, and I will pass a as an argument. It will return 3. What is p? So p is my permutation matrix. L is my lower triangular matrix with unit diagonal element, and U is my upper triangular matrix. We'll have a look over it. So when I will print P, it will print the permutation matrix. When I will print L, it will print lower triangular. You can see that is these all three elements are now 0. So this is my lower triangular matrix, and this is upper triangular matrix. So these all elements are having value, and other three elements are now 0. So this is upper triangular matrix. You can perform .lu operation on your matrix also. You can also calculate eigenvalues and eigenvectors of your matrix. For that you can use .eig method. .eig method will generate two array, return two array. First is EV and second is EW. That is, first is eigenvalues and second is eigenvectors. So you have to store in two variables. When I will print eigenvalues, these are the eigenvalues of my array, and these are the eigenvectors of my array. You can also solve linear equations using this module. So general matrix equation is of the form Ax equal to b. So A is known, B is known, and X is our solution of this equation. So my A is this particular array and B is this particular array. I can solve these matrices using a simple method called .solve. This will take two arguments A and B and return a matrix, solution matrix, as an result. So my linear algebra.solve, I have passed two argument A and B and returns X. When I will print X, it is a solution of this linear equation. So solution is 7 by 3, 11 by 3 and 1, that is minus 7 by 3, minus 7 by 3, 11 by 3 and minus 1. So this is a solution of my A and B. You can also calculate inverse of a matrix. So this is my array. Using .inv method, you can calculate inverse of a matrix. This is inverse of my original array A. For cross check, you can verify using this. A into inverse of A will return I, that is identity matrix. So A dot linear algebra inv of A, that is A dot inverse of A, that will return identity matrix of 3 cross 3, that is all diagonal elements are 1 and other are 0. So you can also cross verify by this. So SciPy dot linear algebra, that is LINALG, can perform numerous operations of matrices, including determinant, inverse, solving linear equations and many more. So you can explore this also. Now fifth part is Fourier transformation. So what is Fourier transformation? Fourier transformation is a tool that breaks a waveform, a function or a signal into an alternate representation characterized by sines and cosines. A Fourier transformation shows that any waveform can be written as a sum of sinusoidal functions. So any signal can be written as a sum of sine waves and cosine waves that you can calculate using Fourier transformations. For that you have to import SciPy.FFT pack. So FFT stands for fast Fourier transformations. So using this pack, that is this module of SciPy, you can calculate Fourier transformations. These two methods are most important in this module: FFT, that is fast Fourier transformations, and IFFT, that is inverse fast Fourier transformation. I have one array of 6 elements. I can calculate Fourier transformation on that array using SciPy.FFTpack.FFT, and I will pass array as an argument. So it will generate an array that is of a Fourier transformation on that array, and using IFFT it will generate an inverse Fourier transformation. So this is my inverse Fourier transformation. For cross verification I can also show you. So when I will perform Fourier transformation on my inverse Fourier transformation, as we have shown earlier that A into A inverse will generate into I. So when I will perform a Fourier transformation on my inverse Fourier transformation, it should give me my original array or original matrix. So this is my I. So I is 1, 5, 6 and my original array is 1, 5, 6. So you can say that Fourier transformation of an inverse Fourier transformation will return the original matrix. Moving towards the sixth part of tutorial is interpolation. So what is interpolation? Interpolation is a type of estimation method of constructing new data points within the range of discrete set of known data points. So it is a method of estimating values between known data points. So let's understand this using an example. SciPy.interpolate is the module that you have to import for this particular purpose. Now these are my array. This is linear interpolation on my points, and this is quadratic interpolation on my points. So you have to pass your x and y, and you have to pass keyword kind equal to what kind of interpolation you have to do. So kind equal to linear will perform linear interpolation, that is this inter p and 1D, this is 1D interpolation. So kind linear interpolation, quadratic interpolation or cubic interpolation you can perform. There are many other interpolation, but these are the basic and effective for understanding. So I have make a legend so that you can understand this effectively using graph. Now these blue dots are my original points. Okay, this line is my, you can see that each point is connected by a single straight line. This is my 1D interpolation, that is this orange or red color line is my 1D interpolation, and this dotted blue color line is a quadratic interpolation of my points. So I can see that my linear interpolation is more effective in this case. Now let's have a look at a cubic interpolation. What this cubic interpolation can give. I have to add one legend here, cubic interpolation. I have to once run this code. Yes, so this is cubic interpolation. This green color line is a cubic interpolation. My quadratic and cubic is nearly equal to same, but you can understand it in a way that these are the points, and using 1D, 2D or cube, I mean linear, quadratic or cubic, you can understand which interpolation shoots best for your given data set or given points. So as discussed earlier, it is a method of estimating values between known data points. Now this is the statistics. So scipy.stats is a method, is a module that you have to import here. These are the common methods that are included in this particular module. This norm.rbs. So what will this particular method will return? It will return an array of 500 elements, but the special thing about this array is their mean of all elements would be 0 and standard deviation will be 1. So when I will perform a sum of all the elements, it will be always 0 and standard deviation will be 1. So this is the special thing of this RVS array. You can pass here any argument, 500, 600, 50, 10, any, but this will be a special condition of this array, that its mean will always be 0 and standard deviation will be 1. So when I will print here, you can see that mean is 0 and standard deviation is 1 and variance is 1 because it is under root of standard deviation, square root of standard deviation. This is CDF, so continuous distribution function. When I will perform norm.cdf on my array, it will give an array, result an array which will have a CDF, that is continuous distribution function of all the elements present in my array, and this is PPF. So what is PPF? It is a reverse of CDF. So percentage point function. When I will I have to pass an argument of CDF, so I have passed 0.5 as an argument, it will return an element of array whose CDF is 0.5. So it will return 0 as an result. You can perform various operations like max, min, variance and maximum, minimum using this module. This is geometric mean. So for that you have to import scipy.states.mstates, and from that you have to use gmin method. So gmin of an array generates a geometric mean of all the elements present in an array. This is harmonic mean. Same as gmin, you have to pass an array and it will result a harmonic mean of all the elements of that array that are present in it. Mode, this will return mode of your array, that is here my mode result is array of 3. So my 3 element, that is here 3 and here 3, it is repeated twice. And last but not the least, that is miscellaneous examples of this particular scipy module is the scientific constants. There are number of scientific constants present in mathematics or science, and you can get any value of the you can get value of any particular constant using scipy module. So writing this scipy.constant.find, it will give the list of all the constants present in the scipy module. You can see that this all constants are present in this module. Great. Starting from A till W, all constants are there. But the question is, now I want to find a particular constant or value of particular constant, then how could I do? So its solution is here. So scipy.constant.find, in that you have to pass a keyword. So it's not necessary that you have to know exactly what it is stored in the module, but you have to just write plank. So all the constant having plank or starting with plank or plank as an string in it, it will be result in a string in a list format. So these all are having plank in their name, so you can choose anyone, and for getting value of it you can use this method physical constant. It will return the value and its unit, so it is joule per hertz. joule per hertz. It is the value of Planck constant. Now if you want only values, then you can use scipy.constant.value. so it will return only value of that particular constant. That is, now Planck constant is 6.6 into 10 power minus 34. Now value of Boltzmann constant, so you can get value 1.3 into 10 power minus 23. scipy.constant.pi, it will return 3.14. in this way there are number of constants, you can get any value, use in your problem or your. So that's it for SciPy tutorial. If you want more information about SciPy, then do visit the official documentation of SciPy in this link. Hello guys, welcome to PyPy Projects. Today we'll learn one of the most important plotting library of Python, that is Matplotlib. One of the most effective library for plotting and visualizing is Matplotlib. So let's start. First you have to import Matplotlib. So write import matplotlib.pyplot as plt, this is alias. Now axis. So as shown here, you can see that axis.plot will plot only the axis in the graph. So as shown in here, plt.show will show the graph. So this is x-axis and this indicates the y-axis of the figure. So this is plotting of x and y-axis. Now moving towards the graph. So first is scatter graph. So scatter graph means this will plot only the points of intersection. So x and y intersection points will only be shown to the graph. So no line or no dotted line will be shown. Only the intersection points of x and y will be shown. So x is 1 2 3 4 5 here. X is 1 2 3 4 and 5. This is a list, and y is 2 3 4 5 6 and 7. So our equation is y equal to x plus 1. So axis dot scattered x comma y will give two arguments, two lists x and y. So it will plot when x is 1, y is 2, when 2 it is 3, when x is 3 it is 4, and so on. You can plot multiple graph on same figure. So let's see the output. Yes, you can see this is another graph, y equal to x, as you can see. So the orange indicates the second graph and blue indicates first. So it is x equal to y line, and this blue indicates y equal to x plus 1 line, and plt.show will display the graph. Now second type of graph is axis.step, that is step graph. So you can print the step graph. So our x is 1 2 3 4 up to 6, and y is square of the x. So 2 4 9 16 and so on. So axis.step, first two argument will be x and y, and second is r. R indicates red, dash indicates the line joining two points will be dash, that is simple horizontal line, and o indicates that intersection point will be circular, dark circular. So these are the parameters. You can change this parameter, like I will make it asterisk, and this r will be, we can take G stands for green. So when we'll run this again, then yes, output get changed. Now our graph is of green color and intersection point is of shape star. So you can change according to a requirement. Now plotting graph. So first we'll plot a simple graph of y equal to x. This will make a simple line. We have shown a graph that is scattered, that shows only a point that of intersection but not a line. So let's see a basic graph y equal to x. It will take arguments as argument list or tuple as an argument and plot according to the list. You can pass 2 lists or 3 or 4 lists in plot or even more than that, and it will print accordingly. If you give 4 arguments in plot function, then it will make 2 graphs, first graph of first and second argument, and second graph of third and fourth argument, and dot legend will plot that both graph in same figure. So this is simple graph of y equal to x. You can see a straight line y equal to x 1 2 3 up to 9. You can change that points. Yes, you can change. So at 3 5.8, you can see here at 3 it is nearly 6, it is 5.8. At 5 it is second point, 5 you can see here 9.9, nearly 10, and at 7 you can say minus 0.5. So you can take distinct value, it will plot accordingly. Now x labels and y labels. This is title. First we will see title. What is title? PLT.title will print the title of the graph. So demo graph, this is demo graph and 2 lines. So you can make title of your graph. X label and y label will print the labels of the x axis and y axis. So x label will make a graph with x axis as label, and this will print. Y label will print y axis as label. You have to pass argument, you have to pass string as an argument what to print at x and y axis. You can write anything like score versus wicket graph, or age versus weight graph, anything. So you can change according to your requirement of graph. It will take 2 argument, and comma label equal to first line. So label, that is first line, this is blue line, it will have label first line. We'll see next figure where this label is shown, and second is label equal to second line. So we'll show in next graph how it works, but you have to use this function to print the label. So plt.legend will print this both first line and second line in your graph figure only. So this will print all the legends, that is first line, second line, and according to your requirement 4 5 6 or 7 line can be in your single graph. So plt.legend will print that label in your graph itself. If you want to plot this legend below the graph, you can also do that. That we see how to do that. So in legend you write LOC stands for location, location equal to upper center, and shadow equal to true will print your legends with a shadow. You can see here a little bit shadow of this box is shown, and n colon equal to 2, that means these are printed with column equal to 2. So both are printed in same line. If there are more than 2, then it will print in an array of multiple rows and 2 columns. So you can pass argument in legend as you want to show the legend, as you print the legend. By default it is shown in graph figure itself. And BB box to anchor indicates this BB box to anchor indicates the position or location where to write these legends. Now interesting topic is here, graph colors. You can change your graph. There are multiple colors present here, so you can change your colors, your graph, your thickness of the graph, your points of intersection can be multiple varieties. So let's see what are the possible colors in this. So color equal to K. K stands for black color and R stands for red color. So let's run this. Yes, this is first line, and first line is of completely black color. This is second line is of blue color. You can change, make it B. B stands for blue color. So first line will be of blue color and second line will be of R, that is red color. So as shown here, you can choose number of color according to a requirement. You have to just pass here the hexadecimal code of your color from this given link, you can click on this link to see tutorial of how to use colors in Matplotlib. So there are number of color in CSS, so writing hexadecimal code of each color, you can plot your graph in that color also. Now what are the different types of graph available in Matplotlib? So first is bar graph. Bar graph is one of the standard graph for representation of data. So what you have to write? You have to write plt.bar. This will print bar graph and label equal to demo bar chart. X and Y will be two lists and bar graph will be printed. Now we have to print two bar graphs. So first is X and Y, second is X2 and Y2. We'll plot this both bar graph, and bar 1, bar 2 are the legends as a label, and pl.show with both graph in single figure. Now you can see here scatter graph. Scatter already we have seen, and here s equal to any size. So you want to change the dot of the representation, you can change that as, that is symbol, and marker equal to this any symbol you can change. So as I have shown in previous, that O stands for circle, that it is here, O stands for circle. You have a number of possibility where how to show that point of intersection, that is marker. So let's see one by one. There is dot means point, pixels, circle, triangle down, triangle up. These are the symbols. First are the symbol. So if you write 1, it will triangle down will be printed. 1, 2, 3, 4 up to 8. Octagon. S for square, P for pentagon, capital P for plus will filled. Asterisk for star, hexagon, hexagon 2, diamond, vertical line, horizontal line, and number of other characters are there. Let's see one example of this. So here these are the colors, and marker equal to upper caret, second marker equal to asterisk, star, and marker equal to 2. What will 2 print? 2 will print this color, this Mercedes type symbol. Yes, okay. So this scatter graph, so you can easily, it will be visible to you, that symbol. So this is red color asterisk star, then this is triangle, or you can say caret symbol, and this is blue colored symbols. So there are multiple possibility to show the intersection point. You can just like marker equal to and your argument, and it will show as your requirements are there. Histogram is shown to represent the frequencies of that graph. So here I have to pass only one argument, that is y, and it will create a histogram of its frequency versus that values. Now if I add one more argument of 4, then output will be changed. So 4 will be at frequency of 2 and other all will be at frequency of 1. So histogram is used to plot graph of values versus its frequency. One of the important graph in terms of statistics. 2D histogram, you can plot 2D histogram, and you have to write ax.hist2d, so it will print 2D histogram. Now can you say what it represents? It's difficult, right? So basically it shows the graph of weekly report of spent hours versus activity. So red indicates days, C indicates your sleeping, eating and learning from pi power. But it seems difficult to understand what it is going to tell to the user, but we can effectively represent this in a pie chart. Let's see how we can see. Yes, now we have only changed this graph, we have made it pie. So my complete activity is easily shown in pie chart. So this much section is eating, sleeping, exercising and learning from pi power, and you can see here labels that this red stands for sleeping, eating and so on. Now you have to take a one portion of your graph outside, that is learning from PyPower. So also you can do here. And one of the miscellaneous example, if you want to store this graph in your file, so you can write that in two line of code, just two line of code in your Python file, and this graph figure will be stored in your folder. So what is that code? So plt.savefigure. So plt.savefigure, and the name of file will be my activities. So this graph will be stored in file that is stored in folder under name my activities. This figure will be stored. So accordingly, whenever you want to show your graph in a presentation, so you can just save that graph and put in your presentation PPT or your PDF. So it will be a very effective way to represent your ideas. So that's it for Matplotlib. I hope you enjoy learning this tutorial. Thank you and have a nice day. Happy learning.
Thank you. Have a good day.